Mike Powell, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks. Honored to be here, Ryan.
Pumped to talk about all things happening at Beat the Streets Chicago. We just got off the Beat the Streets National Duels in camp. How many days removed are we right now, Coach?
Thursday night was the final party, so a couple days out. We're still decompressing. It was a heck of a week.
Man, how long had that been in the makings for?
Several years, all throughout COVID. It took me a long time to convince everybody that it would be a great event, that it would be worth the thousands and thousands of dollars and hundreds of man hours to plan and to execute on coming. So, New York took a charter bus, DC and Baltimore took a charter bus, LA flew in. I mean, so these cities made major sacrifices. So we feel very lucky to have them.
We're going to dive into the whole thing, but I just got to say it right off the bat. I love that you guys picked Lou Malnati's as one of the people for the food of choice.
Well, we're connected to them, so they donated the Buena Beef and Greco Foods are connected to the Grecos. They're obviously great wrestling people and incredibly generous. So they hooked us up with Buena Beef, and Lou Malls is, we're one person away from Lou Malls, and so they were really generous. So they literally delivered, thousands and thousands of dollars of pizza. So the kids got a classic.
What was the feedback from the kids on the deep dish?
They loved it. So we had that, and we had Well Street Chicago mix popcorn, which is Well Street is like a smaller version of Garrett's, and I think it's better than Garrett's, so we went with Well Street. So we try to do all Chicago stuff that they couldn't get anywhere else. You're not getting Lou Malls anywhere else. So
yeah, no, it's pretty cool. So before we get into all the current stuff, though, let's go all the way back to IHSA high school state. This was the first year that Illinois had the state tournament. And I just want to get your thoughts on how the Beat the Streets kids did and what your feedback on it was.
It was great. Considering the fact that most of the suburban kids who have means had a dad who bought a wrestling mat or found a wrestling mat, put it in their garage, had a one-on-one coach, or they had small group workouts all throughout COVID. And frankly, small group or one-on-one stuff actually gets you better at a quicker pace. So not only were our kids off the mat for 16 or 18 months, they were barely working out. We were doing online stuff. And while the suburban kids, frankly, were probably getting better at a quicker rate than normal. So to come out of COVID, basically 8 months out of COVID, we were a go in late February. We had 20 some kids at the state tournament, bunch of girls placed. I think we had 6 of our girls, maybe 6 or 7 of our girls, placed. One girl was second, one girl was third. And Josh Butler from Kenwood Academy was 6th in the state. And, that was great for us. So that's going to change a lot in the coming years, but having an all-stater is a big deal for Chicago public schools. We plan to have several all-staters from private schools and public schools next year. Our kids are really putting in work, and we've got the north side going now. We've got the south side going. We've got this midway location that we're up at University of Chicago now. So we're going to have more kids practicing more often with better coaches. It's just going to get better from here. But we're very proud of the effort and the camaraderie. They all warmed up together. They're all, it doesn't matter where you're from, north side, Catholic school. If you're a Beat the Streets guy, you're in the Beat the Streets corner. They're cheering for each other. And it was really cool to see.
So when you say the midway location, is that the facility or is that a different location?
Yeah, we're having to create names. We're honing in. We're going to have a team meeting where we're going to have 5 different major locations. And so 5 different major locations. So we'll have to give them actual names, so that it's not just Beat the Streets. Obviously, the midway location is going to be our home. That's where our classroom is. It's where our offices are. It's where our weight room is. It's our biggest wrestling room. But we want to offer the same quality of programming on and off the mat in multiple locations around Chicago. And that's always been our vision. And we know it's hard to get from the Pullman neighborhood to Midway on a Wednesday night, but it's not that hard to get from Pullman to University of Chicago. It's a straight shot up, Stony Island or one of those. And so, if we can do that, we're going to create an ecosystem of wrestling around Chicago that is, really empowering and producing great wrestlers and, more importantly, great humans. So
I'm gonna say that I'm one of the first to admit, and I'm ashamed to say that sometimes I forget the University of Chicago has a wrestling program, and that's like one of the best institutions in the country. And right here in our city, we have a wrestling program. And so, what's the they have a room in it, dedicated room?
oh yeah, it's a really nice room. And Coach
Nice.
Coker's opened it up to us. You know, they had 2 All-Americans this year and a couple guys pretty close. Our guy Danny Lincoln from Oak Park, you know, has been with me since he was a pup. He had a really good year as a freshman. So and they've got a stud coming in Gunnar Garrix. He's probably a D1 kid going D3 because education's more important, frankly. They've got a couple other studs coming in. They've got a really nice class this year. So we're very close to Coach Coker. He is coaching our kids. We have a bunch of kids that have shown up for open gym now who've never wrestled before. He said, Coach, I haven't showed a stance in 50 years, you know. So Coach Coker is a legend. So being able to partner with him to have the athletic administration on our side saying, hey, we want you to do this is great. You know, and so our goal is to have the Kenwood kids, the Hyde Park kids, the Bowen kids, the Gary Comer kids, all of our partner schools down there. Coach Stokes just got the Simeon job. You know, Coach Peacock is down there. He's back in the fold now. And so we've got all these guys, and we're going to start creating this kind of ecosystem. I just met with Ryan Mango, who got the BWA job. He lives in Streeterville. So I said, hey, man, can we get you one night a week? He said, all right, let me look at my schedule. And so we can get Ryan Mango down there, you know. So we're actively looking for like game-changing coaches. But we want to have 50, 60 kids in an off-season club down there the way we do it at Midway. You know, we had 85 kids. We had to shut it down this year early because we were packed. So the goal is to have that at all of our locations.
So Ryan Mango lives in Streeterville.
Ryan Mango is a Chicagoan now.
What?
He's got a fiance. She's in medical school, so he's not going anywhere. He's getting his MBA from Kellogg. I mean, you talk about dynamic people, super couple. She's at Northwestern Medical School, and so you know, glad
Wow.
we're lucky to have him. He was at the camp. She kind of showed up at the camp, then said, I didn't realize how much I miss wrestling. So he kept showing up for the camp. And so, you know, I said, hey man, let's keep you involved 1 day a week, 2 days a week, you know, and so we'll see if we can't get him going. But we're actively recruiting coaches. I mean, I'm talking to coaches, even people that might be 2 or 3 years out after the 2024 trials. Our goal is to bring a bunch of dynamic, frankly, minority wrestling leaders. You don't have to be a great wrestler. You got to be a great leader. You got to be a dynamic presence. You got to be willing to work hard and do the hard work of a real coach. But we're looking for those people because, you know, this wrestling is great, but wrestling with life-changing coaches is life-changing. That's what we're after. So we know Mike Boyd, Alexis Rivera, Johnny Vega at the facility are doing that there. You know, how do we scale that is our question here. And I think we have the answer. We just have to find the right people now.
Yeah. Wow. That is so cool that that kind of caliber of person is working with your guys on a daily basis, and not daily, but hopefully, you know, weekly basis. Another Stanford legend is in Chicago, Matt Gentry. Do you ever cross paths with him?
Well, he just took the job at University of Chicago. So he's now full-time at University of Chicago. He was helping out 1 day a week. Yeah, he's the man. And you know, Gentry is a super high quality character guy. Oh. He's a super high quality wrestling guy, obviously. And Coach Coker brought him in. And Coach Coker finally got a full-time assistant okayed. And so, you know, it looks like there may be a big boon to, you know, maybe there will be a big boon to University of Chicago's program.
That's awesome. That is so cool. University of Chicago, the lady works there, and that institution and like just the campus is, you feel like you're at Hogwarts or something. It's amazing.
It's amazing. And Hyde Park is this incredible place. Kenwood is an incredible, I mean, it's just a really cool part of the city. And yeah, so we're excited. We're excited to be down there. We're excited to, you know, to partner with Coach Coker, with the athletic department. We're excited for the University of Chicago, the future. We just introduced 2 of our guys to Coach Coker, who maybe wrestle at UFC soon. They were on our national dual team. Phenomenal students, phenomenal people, great wrestlers. So
nice.
Yeah, we're excited.
Who's the junior college that was in the room this past winter that kind of is new restarting the program?
Morton College. So they're right up the street from us. They practice with us. They set up for our tournament. You know, we got booted out of the Wintrust Sports Complex in Bedford Park because the national ESPN was hosting the national cornhole championships and decided they needed another day for setup. So Wintrust called us and said, you're out. So we went to Chicago Hope Sports Complex, former Quest. but we were like dying for people to help. It's the middle of the work week. So Morton College stepped up and they set up for us. Coach Butts is a phenomenal guy. They're very close to us. A bunch of their kids are our guys. One of their kids is interning with us now. Several of their starters next year came straight from our programming at the facility to Coach Butts. So that's a program we're very invested in. We're hoping they'll start a girls program soon. So we're pushing for that.
And are they fully sanctioned NJCAA, qualify for nationals, that whole thing?
Yeah. So
wow,
last year they just did tournaments. This year, he'll have a full lineup. He was recruiting hard. He's really hustling.
Great to see a program back. And so before we move on to some other topics, what's going on in the north side of Chicago, my neck of the woods?
So we're helping. Actually, we're financing the room at Taft right now. Taft's going to have a 2-mat wrestling room. So that's Norwood Park. It's way up northwest. Mm-hmm. And I'm, Taft has been the powerhouse in Chicago for a long time. They've got a very interesting school. It's a huge school. They have a 7th and 8th grade that feeds into them. Their school is mostly Polish immigrants and first generation Latinos. So it's an area that we're excited to serve. And it doesn't exactly look like Hyde Park, you know what I mean? But mm-hmm. but that's a very important location for us in terms of being able to provide quality programs. So we're excited there. Coach DeFrisco just got the job there. Coach Engel's wife got a job at Bloomington, Indiana at the university, Go IU. And so Coach DeFrisco just got the job. He's very close to us. We're very close to him. So we're excited to have programming on the northwest side. On the north side in Avondale at the old Gordon Tech campus, we now have 3 mats down in the cafeteria. Coach Heffernan from DePaul Prep, they run that location. They rent that location. And so we're helping to run that location. But we had 65 kids in an off-season program there. I think we had 5 or 6 guys qualify for Fargo from there. And one of the girls that started this spring there, I think she went 2-2 at the duels. This little girl, Mia, she is a stud. So she showed up out of the jiu-jitsu world. And she's at one of the Marine, I think she's at the Marine Leadership Academy. And so she started coming, she hasn't missed a practice. So she now gets to the south side, to the Midway location to practice with our all girls team. She's a big part of our program. So we're already seeing fruit from the Avondale location. We're really excited to partner with DePaul Prep. We think we think they're the next St. Ignatius in the city. It's really a unique group. But again, they're serving a population that we're interested. So we're here to serve anybody. Max Rosen, who goes to DePaul Prep, won the duel for us. He's a Jewish kid from the north side, a fluent Jewish kid from the north side. He's as beat the streets as anybody we have, and he was hoisted up by a bunch of brown and black kids. It's really made me really proud. It's what we experienced at Oak Park, and having that melting pot is the very best of Chicago. It's the very best of America, and so it's we're proud of that.
Man, when I first met you almost 2 years ago, you said we're going to do at Oak Park what we did for Oak Park for the whole city, and it's like not many people in the wrestling world wrestling people have big ideas, but the details and the plans a lot of times don't come to fruition. So to see you guys doing the damn thing is just amazing.
Yeah, I think big picture stuff is easy. Drilling down and actually making it happen is the hard part. So we're learning as we go on that. We're having success, and we're excited for the future. I think 5 years from now there'll be an ecosystem of Chicago wrestling that is very strong, producing very good wrestlers, and more importantly, helping young people build themselves and lift themselves up. So.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Like so many people listen to this or listen to the other stuff we do, and they'll call and say, "Hey, I want to start to Beat the Streets," and it's like it's not that easy. It's like I read Beat the Streets Nationals page. It's like a 10-year plan you have to put in place. So like if people are listening to this and have those kind of those urgings to help, it's like get out there and coach, get out there and volunteer, donate some money, and then kind of follow along that path. Is that probably the best way to get back?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be a Beat the Streets to start a wrestling program and scholarship kids that need it, and that's what I tell people. If they're not, if I talk to a lot of people about this. So I'm on the National Strategic Growth. I'm on the National Executive Committee. I'm on the Strategic Growth Committee. Our goal is 28 cities by 2028. We just had Austin, Texas at the National Duels. They're hoping to become a Beat the Streets, and so we're pushing them and they're pushing themselves. And there's now meetings set up, so Randy Bryan is down there. He's went to Curie High School. So he grew up he grew up in Englewood, but went to school right down the street from our Midway facility. And so he was, anyways, point is he's an assistant principal, really is squared away. But he'll hear the same thing everybody else is: ideas into action. And that it's as simple as that. Having an idea, wanting to do it is one thing. Starting it and initiating the contact with the right people for your board, the right structure around programming, the right, structure around fundraising. We're running nonprofits. These are not wrestling clubs. So if you're ready to graduate from being a wrestling club into being a nonprofit, you're serving 60. We're doing the same thing in St. Louis. We're doing the same thing in Tampa right now. We're doing the same thing in Phoenix. When you're ready to start, you serve more than 50 kids, or you're ready to get to 250 to 400 to 600 to 1,000 kids, we will come in and help you scale that. So we have a plan. It's not 10 years. If you're really squared away, you can get this done in a year or two. But you have to be motivated. You have to have the right people. And what we're experiencing in the wrestling world is either we have a business person with a big vision and who can raise a lot of money, who doesn't have programming people, or we have programming people who doesn't have that big business guy. So trying to find, the marriage of the two is what we're doing right now. And we're out there. We give people, we went to visit St. Louis, they went to visit Tampa, went to visit Phoenix, and, okay, here's the template. And Ben's creating a template at, and it's not a cookie cutter. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of, you got to get your hands dirty, and that's everybody. Our board president, who was Dan Willis, when we were first coming, Dan was setting up wrestling match for a couple of years, so it's going to have to be all hands on deck. But we're excited about 28 cities. We think we can get there.
And so you named a couple that I was thinking about this morning. St. Louis is on the map, and then Tampa. I mean, wrestling in Florida is really growing. So those are both on the radar. What about ATL and the Dirty, Atlanta, Georgia? Have you guys heard anything from that area?
I'm sure somebody's fielded a call. I've talked to I may have talked to somebody from Atlanta, but I'm sure somebody has. We field a lot of those calls between Ben and I, and other people on the national board. So I don't know. We'd love to have Atlanta. We'd love to be down south. We'd love to have Little Rock. We'd love, all of the places where we think it can simultaneously help kids in need and grow the sport of wrestling. That's a win-win for us. So.
Absolutely. Well, and the cool thing about what you guys are doing at Chicago is it's not just folk style. It's not just freestyle. You have this awesome facility, which we visited. What does a day in the life look like at the facility for your summer programming?
So it didn't really get used last week, except for a piece with CBS and showering in between sessions, because we outgrew the facility with all the cities that came. So we had to go to the Wind Trust, which is 5 minutes away. So our kids went back and showered there. But this week we have an intensive high school camp. And then high school kids will then practice 3 days a week and lift the other 2 at night. Going forward. Next week, we start a youth. This is just at our Midway location. We have other stuff going on around the city. We are maxed out for the 5 to 8-year-old group and the 9 to 14-year-old group for our morning summer camp, which is 9 to 12. It's a 3-hour camp. But then we hand selected 22 kids to stay in the afternoon and do a classroom portion. So those kids will shower, they'll eat lunch, and then we hired a real deal STEM teacher, which is STEM is now called STEAM. Apparently they added a vowel. But Layla Cleofi she's a female wrestling coach from Berwyn who started a wrestling league, not just a team. She started the entire league. So yeah, at some point we want to steal Layla from the education world and bring her in to beat the streets. I've already told her she's on our radar. But in the meanwhile, she's going to do 3 hours of teaching with us. Alex Madrigal is going to be there with her. So she'll have a couple of classroom aides. They'll build robots. We actually have a spoken word guru coming in. And this is one of my life idols is a guy named Pete Kahn, who started spoken word at Oak Park and was instrumental in starting the spoken word scene in Chicago. And we're going to use spoken word 1 day a week with one of Pete Kahn's right-hand man. We're going to use it once a week as a social emotional tool. So one of the things that we realize is our kids coming out of COVID have some real challenges, mental hurdles, emotional hurdles, and there's not always, our kids are not always up for speaking to a professional. So if you can put things on paper, and you can perform and you can be vulnerable in front of other people and you can talk about your issues and the things that you're going through. We see this as a major boon. I saw what Pete was able to do at Oak Park with our wrestlers. We often shared kids, Gabe Townsend, Kamal Bay, so but and a bunch of other guys that you wouldn't have heard of. But what Pecan did at Oak Park was really special with a group of frankly at-risk kids. And so our goal is to bring a spoken word in, a person in for that classroom portion that'll really help these kids emotionally, mentally, and in every other way. But Layla Cleophas, we hired her for the right reasons. She called us back a couple of weeks later and said, okay, here's my plan for the summer. We're going to do this on Monday. We're going to do this on Tuesday. Can you buy journals? Can you do? So she's the real deal. She's taking it seriously. So our goal is to have this classroom portion and scale it to the other locations in the future. So the goal is to be serving kids in the classroom throughout Chicago within a couple of years. And this is our pilot program.
Wow, there's so much there to dig it. Go ahead.
So that'll go on for 4 weeks. Then we have overnight camps. So Ron Garrix, who, Ron's son is Gunnar, the young man that's going to University of Chicago. Ron is a former CEO of Dell and Motorola. And so he's a big donor of ours. He's the one of scholarship. He does all of our, he endowed a scholarship program that does all of our scholarships for high school, college, our interns and everything else. But he also bought a old Girl Scout camp near like Gurnee, northwest of Gurnee, near the Wisconsin border. And it's this big wooded place. It's got a pond. There's a trail that you run through the woods. There's s'mores at night. So you do the bonfire and all that stuff. So both our boys, our most dedicated boys and our most dedicated girls will go up there later in the summer. And then we have several other like overnight trips planned for our high school kids and things like that'll be kind of, it's always wrestling related, but the goal is to also enrich lives. So
this guy bought an old camp in the northern part of the state.
Sleeps 22 in just the bunk beds. You could bring more. He has like an arcade in there. You could set up a wrestling room. Boyd takes the boys to like Blanton's to Built by Brunson. So Boyd kind of bounces around, maybe toss them up this year. We talked about, and we have like mixed practices so that they don't have to practice there. Garrick's is actually building a 50 by 100 foot wrestling room on the property. So we will be up there. Yeah, we'll be up there a lot. So I think I'm going to do a father-son camp for little guys. Me and Johnny Vega have kids. Our boys are the same age. But Octavius Bellamy has a son. It's just barely older than my son. Jeremy Powell has some kids. So we've got a couple other dad kids. So we'll do an overnight camp there in the fall. That'll be really special for the little guys, 10, 15 little guys. And so there's a house there. The parents get sleep. It's awesome. So many. He's incredibly grateful.
Man, so many cool things. He used to work at Dell.
I said grateful. I meant generous. He was the CEO at Dell and Motorola.
Wow, that's just amazing. That even if it's not wrestling related, to have that kind of like business mentorship or business mind around a young person, it's invaluable. Yeah,
he's amazing. His kids are amazing. His family's amazing. He's incredibly generous. They show up. So Gunnar was around last summer helping out. So I'm more excited to stay involved with Gunnar as he, enters University of Chicago.
So what is the spoken word program? I've never heard of this before.
Spoken word is like half rap, half poetry. And this fellow that we're bringing in particular specializes in social emotional health. So he's going to get these kids to dig deep, write about their innermost fears, their innermost goals, their feelings, the things that you may not as a young person, feel safe enough or vulnerable enough or whatever the right word is enough to express these things. And let's get them out. Let's talk about them. Let's put them on the table, and let's help people heal and move forward from their challenges. And, there's baggage, a 12-year-old is processing a lot right now, particularly if they were a city kid who was stuck in an apartment for we have kids that didn't get to go outside very often, spent a lot of time playing video games, eating Flamin' Hots and, just not doing things that were positive for their physical and mental health. And so, the goal is to really help those kids kind of express what they've gone through, what they're going through now. And so
And these kids already have had, trying lives, but you're saying that the COVID impact really impacted them way more than I guess I didn't even realize, or a lot of people realize it's created some real hardships.
Yeah, we have kids from all backgrounds. So we have kids that are like Max Rosen, who's killing it, hilarious of life, and who comes from but most of the kids that we targeted for this classroom portion are kids who we think are, could need a little extra help, who we want to see not only not lose a grade, in reading and math, but to maybe gain a grade in reading and math. It's 4 weeks of pretty intense classroom stuff. But our goal is just to, for those 22 kids, keep them really engaged for 4 weeks and digging deep. They're going to have to work hard. They're going to have, Layla's a master. So,
dang, sounds intense, and all good things happening. I also see you guys had a few folks at the Central Regional. Did you put anyone on the Fargo team, or is that a focus for you guys?
Yeah, we have 9, maybe 10 now boys going to Fargo. We have 7 or 8 girls. I might get these numbers wrong, but somewhere in that. And it was good. The kids really fought to get there, and they wrestled really well. I feel like our kids. I watched our kids this weekend. They were really well coached. Our parterre offense and defense won us the national duels. So
it's a freestyle event.
It's freestyle, yeah. But this is Illinois.
Man, let's go.
My first email to everybody was, "Don't even ask." This is free. This is Illinois. We wrestle freestyle. We want, it's fresh for the kids. You can't, if we catch a kid in 9th grade or 8th grade or 7th grade, and we get them to buy into year-round training, we will fry them by the time they're in 12th grade. Mm-hmm. We wrestle hard. The demands on our kids are really high. So that freestyle Greco stuff is fresh. You're still wrestling, you're still competing, you're getting better, you're learning hand fighting, you're learning different skills, but it feels like it's new every spring. And that was key for us at Oak Park, because we train year round. And so it's the same model. And Boyd coached with me for 4 years. And so he's running the same thing we did at Oak Park.
Yeah, it's such a good point. Like, you almost forget what it feels like to go to those tournaments where you're trading singlets, and like, it's not as serious as a folk style tournament. It is,
that's exactly
but it's not,
Right. It isn't. Yeah. You know what I mean? And frankly, that's the way folk style should be too, Right. So how do you take that and bring that same mentality, enjoy yourself in folk style? So
yeah. Wow, that's so cool. So let's just get to it. So the duels happened. It was a 3-day camp where you had 9 cities involved, and then the 4th day was the duels. My first question is, where'd you guys house all these kids at for the duration of the camp?
So we have a partnership with a hotel. There's 6 hotels and a hotel park just south of Midway. It's actually on 65th Street. So the kids, most of them didn't, but they could have walked. It's 3/4 of a mile from the Wintrust Sports Complex in Bedford Park. So on 65th is the border on the southwest side of between the city and Bedford Park. The Wintrust is across the street from the city. So it's right there. It's 5 minutes from our facility. So everything kind of works together. That Lou Mall's right up the street, just south of Midway is where we got all the pizzas from. So it's just kind of a central location with those hotels, and the team, we got a good deal. We have a partnership with them. We will ask for a better deal next year, because there's a lot of dough for a lot of kids. So, this year was just kind of our first go at it, but it's going to get bigger and better. So
how did the first 3 days go? Like, how was it broken out?
It was good. You realize you can see the difference in programming. New England is a satellite deal. So they're just, talking to Bjorn, she's like, we're just starting to get to know some of these kids. They run these clubs all around New England. They're all over. So they know the coaches well. They know some of the more dedicated kids well, but some of the kids, they don't know that. You know what I mean? So there's to watch the different teams interact and kind of, it was kind of interesting, because we all have our own programming model, but we've got something to learn from New England, because we're now starting to scale. And LA has a similar thing as New England, where our team, we know our kids' middle names, you know what I mean? And everything about the backs. So, because they're all at the facility. But that's about to change for us. next year we're going to have to bring in University of Chicago, the north side and the Midwest side, the Avondale location and the Midway location worked really well together, and our coaches came together, and our teams were built from. We had two teams, they were built from those two different locations. But we're about to have these satellites too. So it was interesting to see how the different cities had built their teams, and then it was amazing to bring all those kids together. 260 Beat the Streets kids from around the country, and day one's a little awkward. The day one they're kind of hanging out, and I said, hey, everybody, get a partner from another city, and then our coaches are encouraging them to make sure you go hang out with the kids from the other city. Well, by the second night, by Tuesday night, we have spike ball, we have handball games going. This is after dinner, and the cities are all hanging out together. All of a sudden, we've got a girl from our girls team hanging out with the boy from one of the other teams. I'm looking at, I'm like, oh, they've been together. Yeah. So, so there's a bunch of that stuff where they're making lifelong friendships. And that's what it's about, is having cultural experiences, meeting kids that look like you, that are having similar experiences as you, and knowing that there are sisters and brothers out there, I think is hopefully going to be really empowering. We'll see, but the feedback we got was really positive, overwhelmingly positive in terms of the kids' experiences.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to, we're getting together right after this call as a team. Chicago is to talk about how we can make things better, and then we'll have a big national call and we'll make it better next year. But the camp was awesome. We have some adjustments to make to it, but overall it was really good. In terms of getting the kids to mix and scrap together. It was hard. It was 3 days, 2 days. And so it was a good scrap.
I love the focus that Beat the Streets puts on the girls wrestling and how many girls come out to wrestle. I mean, how were they incorporated into the dual format? Did you have a separate championships for the girls, or was that? You did.
So let me start by saying, girls nationally is less than 6% of the wrestlers. It's over 20% for Beat the Streets. We're the fastest growing group of wrestlers in the country. We're the fastest growing group of female wrestlers in the country. And it's something we're very proud of. Obviously LA is at the forefront of all that. They do the women's event out there. They have a huge female wrestling population, but so does New England. I mean, Biora's, their team won it. So we're very proud to be at the front of that, and we're very proud to have the girls and the boys wrestle side by side. We only had 4 full female teams. We had a bunch of stragglers that got to wrestle. They got 3, 4, 5 exhibition matches. So I think next year we'll probably have 5 or 6, maybe even 7 teams. But this year we had a 4-team round robin. And New England edged out Chicago in the finals. I was very proud. Yeah, our coaches and our girls really worked hard the last 2 months. I've seen them and how hard Coach V works and how hard Coach Lily works and how hard our girls are working. So we're very proud.
Man, and then that movie, the short film you guys did on Monica. Man, that is really cool stuff. And like what she opened up just about that film kind of reminds me of the spoken word stuff and all the anxieties these kids are carrying around. But that film really was awesome. I mean, that had to be, was that June or May when that went live?
That was June. We debuted the Monica film at our gala. So
got it.
Yeah, Monica's our poster child. She's the best. She is resilient. She's brilliant. She has incredible spirit. She has incredible work ethic, and she's the very best of what Chicago has to offer. We're proud to support her. We're proud to call her, the face of Beat the Streets. So if you haven't seen the Monica video, look it up. If you want to make your day better, your week better.
Seriously, yeah, I'll link to it, and yeah, it's awesome. And speaking of the gala, $550K in the bank for you guys this year. Congrats on another awesome fundraising. When you look at, I know you're a competitive guy, and when you look at New York hosting Final X, do you see a world where we do something big like that, or is that not the focus for you guys in the next couple of years?
I don't say this to take away from New York, because I think what they do is essential and really important for the sport of wrestling. We have, our several people, wrestling people on our board say things like, "Hey, when are we going to do something like this? We can do it at Wrigley Field." I don't want to do it. Now, our thing is the national duels. Our thing is we're the kind of grassroots, redheaded stepchild of the big 4: LA, Philly, New York, and Chicago. Now we've come up right? But we don't have a Nova Gratz, we don't have an Andy Barth. We've done it kind of small donor by small donor. And that's kind of our mentality, is we're a little bit more, like ground level. And frankly, because we probably can't be the other way, even if we wanted to. But I like that about us, is that we're kind of the, we think of ourselves as like, it's kind of gritty, groundswell type people, organization. And so our thing will be the national duels. If somebody else wants to host it, we're happy to have it. But no, I think all of our time and effort, even more so than in the past in Chicago, will go into helping young people improve their lives. So we turned down hosting a coaches clinic this year. Last year we were pulling teeth to try to get coaches to sign up. They didn't sign up, so we canceled it. And I said, we're just not going to do it anymore, because the money and time we're spending on that could be spent on Monica and her little brother Arkel and their little sister Michelle. You know what I mean? So that's our focus, is just be really, really good at wrestling programming. Love and to scale it around the city. And we've got enough on our plate. So our team is over. That's on me. Our team is overwhelmed all the time. So
I love the focus though. And it's not like there's a lot of loose ideas going around. It's a very focused program, and you and Kathy and your team are just all over it. And so once you had this camp, you had 3 days of it. I saw a bunch of clinicians coming in, but it looks like Ed Roos made a few trips to your facility. What can you tell us about him and the Illini staff that you've been able to interact with?
So I'm on the Illinois Regional Training Center board, and obviously Brian Medlin and I are very close, but Poeta and I've gotten closer. They have been incredible. So they come up with no expectations of being paid. Obviously we paid Ed. We're happy to pay our clinicians. Nobody gets rich with Beat the Streets, but we're happy to. But he's been incredible. So Ed, I said this to him after he was there. I said, listen, you've been an incredible partner at Beat the Streets, and you have never asked for anything in return, and you certainly have the right to do that. We appreciate you. We know our kids appreciate you, and so we're incredibly grateful for our partnership with University of Illinois and their generosity. Poeta is doing it right. He's building a foundation of relationships around Illinois right now. And I know he, does not have an ulterior motive with Beat the Street Chicago, but it's going to pay off for U of I have no doubt. And it's going to pay, and obviously it's already paying dividends for us. And so they've been great with us. But, so is Angel Escobedo at IU, same thing. Angel came up, had to bring his kid, I think
really?
His kid loved it. His kid had a great time. He was like the mascot. But same with Kyvan Gatson. He brought his little girl. And so it's a big family atmosphere. And so we're incredibly grateful for our male and our female clinicians.
I got to get Angel on the podcast. That's one of the few Big Ten coaches who hasn't been on, but he was legend. Yeah, I will right after this. Yeah, that's great. And then when you look at some of the other people who help support, I saw ASICS was a sponsor. It looked like they hooked you guys up big time.
Oh, they're incredible. So ASICS and Gear to Compete, who is the distributor of ASICS, are huge partners of us. They're the ones who made this happen. Obviously, Chicago got big money from DRW, the financial firm, and Camp Out for Kids as well. But they're the marquee sponsor. We sat down with them. We've got big announcements coming for Beat the Streets National and ASICS and Gear to Compete. So they were inspired by what happened last week, and we sat down. They said, how do we scale this relationship with you guys? So we came up with a bunch of ideas, and they're going to be unveiled slowly over the next 12 months, and hopefully we'll really be bumping this time next year, and that will we'll have some branded gear, hopefully, and some other things. So ASICS has been amazing. ASICS wrestling has been amazing. We're really grateful for that relationship. And they're just, the people on their staff that came and interact with us from Gear to Compete and ASICS, they're just really good people. They're doing it. They see it as more than just a boon to their brand. They're in it for the right reasons, and that's rare in the corporate culture, because bottom line is everything. But it is important to ASICS. That's how ASICS was formed. Came out of the ashes of World War II, And it came out because they wanted to help kids. A6 was started because they wanted to help kids, and they said we're kind of getting back to our roots with you guys, and so we're proud to be. We're lucky and proud to be affiliated with them.
Man, so they even sent people out to the event.
Oh yeah, their staff was there. Creative team, administrative team, Gear to Compete was there. So very cool.
Man,
and while we're talking, Resolite made the finals, Matt, and donated it. So Resolite's been an incredible partner of Beat the Streets National and Chicago as well.
Took the words out of my mouth. One of my last bullets was how badass that mat was. Like, it's got the skyline on it, dude. That is one of the that's one of the coolest mats I've ever seen.
Yeah, and we'll have it at multiple tournaments throughout the year. So we're happy to highlight A6 and Resolite. It's a cool mat. We're really grateful to have it.
Man, things are happening. It was broadcast on Illinois Matman. Shout out Izzy Style for getting everyone involved.
They were great. They were incredible. Ryan Blake is incredible. Obviously, appreciate Illinois Matman's generosity. And so.
Two old enemies coming together, baby. Not real enemies, but just for fun. But those OPRF Montini duels used to be battles.
They were awesome.
Wow.
They were awesome.
And look at you guys both now.
The finals of the national duels reminded me of those old duels. So it was a great. And I think probably my favorite moment of the whole weekend, we had a knockdown drag out with Cleveland right in the finals. And Max Rosen had a Tecker pin. I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm still hoarse from it. All of a sudden, I'm screaming. I don't even coach. I'm like running back and forth, making sure that he needs a Tecker a pin. Max pins. We win. Obviously, it must hurt for Cleveland, but our kids, instead of shaking hands, we're all hugging in line. The coaches are hugging. Beat the Streets is a family, and we're really proud of of what's going on in Cleveland and what they're doing out there. And so it was just a lot of love on that mat after that duel. So that's how wrestling should be, and so I'm proud to be a model for that at Beat the Streets.
No question about it. And, Cleveland was out here in December, so they've made the trip a couple times to Chicago, and those guys seem really dedicated out there.
They're awesome. Demetrius Williams is the executive director out there. He is fearless. He's a workhorse. They have great coaches out there. They have great kids. So we're excited to partner, and we're not that, we're 6 hours away. So we're excited to be with them for several times a year from here on till the end. We were talking about maybe going out there for a camp, and they're getting a facility. So Chicago started something.
Let's go.
Everybody's getting their own facility.
Man.
So we're really proud to hear that. What we're able to do in the relationships we're able to build at the facility are particularly meaningful. So it's nice to hear that New England's going after one, New York's going after one, LA is going after one, Philly has one. They just expanded theirs, and obviously Cleveland thinks they're going to open August 1st. So
wow,
pretty cool. Yeah,
Philly, obviously they've always been kind of up there as a model, but they have just an incredible ecosystem with the Penn RTC. UPenn has a revival happening right now. Roger Rain is back in the fold. I mean, the modders are like some of the most stand-up people you ever meet, and obviously Ben's out there. So, I mean, Philly it's always a model.
Philly's the standard. James Mangum is the ED there. He is my mentor in the ED world, and Philly is the model. They do it right. And to hear Jordan Burroughs, you
see that video?
They asked him a question. He said, "Hey, let me talk about the Beat the Streets kids," and that has happened organically. Part of the agreement when you come into the PRTC is you're going to work with Beat the Streets Philly, and so just to mix, all you have to do is be around the Beat the Streets Phillies kids for a little while, and you say, "Wait a second, these kids are special." I want to help these kids. I want to be invested in this, and so that happened. That wasn't, "Hey, JB, will you say some nice things about Beat the Streets Philly?" He did that because he's invested in those kids now. Joey McKenna's invested, all those guys are invested in those kids now. So what they have going, that you're right, you can call it an ecosystem. What they have going is really quite special.
Yeah.
And so, I think they're the model.
Great. BJ Futrell's out there. So man, they're doing some awesome things.
They've got their head coach, Linder Vega, is a former Beat the Streets Philly guy. The guy that John Guevara, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who Ben just hired at Beat the Streets National, is a former Beat the Streets Philly kid who graduated from Penn. So these kids, they're doing it. And now it's like generational. That's what we hope. And we hope that after, Finn Mural goes to University of Chicago, he comes back and works for, Beat the Street Chicago. So.
Yeah, man, so much good stuff. Just a couple of things I want to wind down with. Some Beat the Streets related, some not. One, I just saw this and I thought it was very interesting. One of the women's coaches for Beat the Street Chicago took some of the kids shopping to show them healthy choices. Is that like a common thing you guys do? That was pretty cool to me.
Yeah, that's a common thing. We just are finally capturing it on film and advertising it. So we need to do a better job of that. But that's every day, and sometimes it's not going to the store to talk about healthy eating leading up to Fargo. Sometimes it is, we get a call from a kid, he's had some trouble with gangs at the city, and this actually happened. Some gangs at school. Okay, who's going to drive him home? And who's going to spend some time with that young man? Obviously you got to have more than two people in the car, but how are we going to get these like intimate relationships, these off the mat experiences, make them more robust, scale them to more kids? But that's kind of what we do all day, every day.
Yeah.
Life-changing programming is not about, are you doing the right stance and motion drill at the end of practice? It is about what happens after practice. Do you have coaches that are ready to press into these kids' lives? Do you have kids that trust and love you enough to be pressed into and to be pushed out of their comfort zone, to be told, no, man, you're not going over there after school anymore. You're coming to here. You're going to get tutored. You're going to get a meal, and you're going to practice. You're going home at 9:30 at night, and we're going to drive you. So that's the goal for our high impact group is to really have our hands on them in every facet of life, in 355 days a year.
Yeah.
And so it's resource heavy, but we know it changes lives. So
I mean,
that's those three girls that were at the store with Coach V, they would die for Coach V, and she would for them. So that's a great kind of snippet of what Beat the Street. We say all the time, we're not a wrestling club. The goal is to be a youth development organization that changes lives, and that's what really, that's what Coach V really does well. So.
She's awesome, and she wasn't even a wrestler, right? Her kid just wrestled, and she loved it.
No, she's just a badass mom.
Just a badass.
So
yeah. Wow.
Here's what Coach V does. She works her tail off. She hustles. She's high energy. She's incredibly giving in terms of her time, emotion, her love, and everything else. And when you're around that, it's magnetic. You're drawn to it. This is not about wrestling. We have Coach Lilly, who was a very good collegiate wrestler, doing most of the technique right now. We just had Aaron Golston in. So we're, obviously we had Haley and Becca doing technique. So we have plenty of wrestling experts. Bobby Campos, we have a bunch of coaches that come in and help with the girls programming. The girls program is life-changing because of Coach V. Mm-hmm. And so that, obviously that is far more important. It supersedes anything that, how you're finishing your leg laces.
Yeah, definitely. And she's committed. I mean, she's in there all the time. Wow. Very. The two other things. One, how'd you get the great Danny Gable at the Beat the Streets duels? And I saw he was taking some pic. Really?
Yeah, Ben Peterson, Dan Gable, they were both there. So these two Olympic champs from '72, two incredible, legends in our sport, and it was great. And Gable was, he's incredibly generous, and he wants to watch the wrestling. He's talking, let me give me a second here. Let me watch this wrestling. So he is. He's just he's an icon, and he's incredible. Peterson is the same way. They're incredible friends to Beat the Streets. Obviously, Gable's an ASICS guy, so that's how he came. Peterson is a FCA guy, and he's going on a trip. We're taking 16 of our kids to Israel. Not we, Coach Willis from Chicago Hope is our former board president. So we're obviously very connected to Chicago Hope, but they're taking a bunch of the non-Hope kids to Israel on a trip in August. So it's going to be really cool, cultural, religious, and wrestling trip. So
Coach Willis, shout out to him. He's the man. We had Mike Baird on the podcast from Coach Willis introduction, and everyone he's introduced me to has just been awesome. So Dan, it's so cool that Gable and Ben Peterson were out there. And like you said, Gable is like one of the most approachable people ever. Like his personality, he's just a very warm person. And like, you don't always get that reputation until you meet him, but maybe it's retirement, maybe it's something, but he's just been super welcoming every time I've been around him.
He's always been like that in my experience. So my high school coach was Big Ten champ at Iowa. and he would take us every year to an Iowa duel. We get to do a tour of the facility, and we'd meet Gable before the duel, and Gable would spend time with us, even though he was prepping for Penn State or Oklahoma State or whoever they were going to wrestle. And he would, every year he said, your coach was my idol growing up. He was just so humble that way, and it was like to hear that about Coach Parker, who was our idol. The guy was, so instrumental in our lives. So it's just kind of how Gable is. I think he's just a good man.
Definitely. Well, that's awesome. And then last thing for you, the great Kamal Bey returned to the stage this year, made the world team. Give us your thoughts on the return.
I think the sky's the limit for Kamal. It's a matter of discipline and hard work, but hopefully I know he was training while he was off the mat. But he's part of the WCAP program in the Army now. And so I think that, that ecosystem in the Army, that the family atmosphere in the Army will be really helpful for him. Obviously he's got Ellis is there. Ellis is our guy. Greedy's there. He's our guy. Max Nowry's there. We're very close to Max. So glad to hear that Kamal is part of that family now, and hopefully, just keep building toward 2024. Let's bring home some medals.
Because anyone who knew Kamal Bey in the early 2010s would have said Olympian 2020, no questions asked. I don't know exactly what happened, but I don't even know if he tried out, but he's back now, and he's like got a fire under him, and I can't wait to see him make some noise. He had a pretty good run at the tournament in Italy, I think it was. Lost a couple of tough bouts, but I mean, like you said, from the moment you saw Kamal Bey in high school, you knew the kid was bound for the Olympics if he wanted to.
Yeah, that's right. I hope so.
Me too.
I don't want to jinx him.
Right.
But
I'm knocking wood here.
I'll be watching it live, and I'll have butterflies in my belly. I can tell you that. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for the future. I mean, he's still young. He's got a long ways to go. If he keeps improving, year after year, there is no limit to his potential.
Right. So. And that would be your second Olympian behind Ellis.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Well, Coach, it's always an honor to catch up. I was inspired doing the research this morning, and even more so now. As we talked about earlier, people want to get involved. There's about 40% of the listeners of this podcast are in Chicago area. And I know a lot of people want to help the cause. So one, get out your damn checkbook, start writing some checks, beatthestreetchicago.org. It's right on there. Donate whatever you can. If we got some coaches who want to coach, are you still taking that, or are you guys full on coaches right now?
We're dying for coaches. We're dying for real coaches. A lot of guys call, hey, I could come in, once in a while. And that's helpful, but it's not. We're looking for coaches. We pay well. We're looking for guys that are really dedicated from all backgrounds, guys and gals who are really dedicated. We're also looking for the volunteer level guys. In terms of donors, come on and be a monthly donor. It's really easy to sign up. And, each month when $10 or $25 or whatever you give per month shows up on your credit card, you're doing good. But we also need volunteers. So we have a volunteer place at our site. Obviously these major events need a lot of work from the hospitality room to the gear sales, to set up, to breakdown. So there's a lot of that, but we're also looking for tutors. We're looking for mentors. We have a mentoring program, but we're, as you heard earlier, we're up and running all over Chicago. Mm-hmm. So if you're from the Six Corners, you're right down the street from Norwood Park, and you want to help, let us know. We're here.
Yeah, and it's btschicago.org. It's really easy to donate with a credit card. It's all very legit. And I'm glad you mentioned the volunteers, because my mom, for example, loves wrestling. She's not a coach, but she used to work the concession stand, and she misses that environment. So there's a lot of moms and dads out there who don't have the commitment to coach every week. That's a lot of work, but they want to volunteer. You guys got a place for them too.
Absolutely. We had a couple of those this week. So
love it.
The Charlebois family, Jeff and I are old coach rivals. We beat them one year when he was at Manuka for the state championship. And then next year they beat us in the opening round in 2010 when they won it. So Jeff and I have been buddies for years, but his family, they're like the number one volunteers. The daughters, all three daughters are involved. And Casey, the wife, is amazing. And obviously, so they're at everything. So I showed up for the duels on Thursday. I said, of course, the Charlebois are here. So, if we could find 6 or 7 of those families, and add 2 or 3 each year as we continue to grow, and it'd be really impactful for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. And last but not least, I live across the street from Lakeview High School. Have they ever had a program or anything going on there? It's such a massive school.
Joey Betterman went to school there.
Joey Better.
World team member. Alice Coleman beat Joey Betterman in the Olympic trial finals
Okay.
in 2012. Joey Betterman, he was an all-stater for Lakeview, went on to become he was a couple times, I think, age group world medalist in Greco, was a world team member. His coach was Carmelo Flores, who was an Olympian in '84 for Puerto Rico. Headlocked Randy Lewis in the opening round. Was up 3-0. I think he got pinned, but he did headlock him, had him on his back for a little while. And he had his own wrestling room. He fundraised for it. School took it from him. So the program took a hit, but there's a guy named Camacho over there they were off during COVID, and they just got a new coach. I think the Marine leadership coach is going over there now too. So they're going to have a full team next year.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're pretty invested with them. We hope their kids will start coming to train with us over at Avondale. And
Avondale. Okay.
So yeah, our goal is to really help the north side. Though north side's kind of hurt. Less programs came back on the north side post COVID than anywhere else. So, but Uptown, Rogers Park, these are areas of need. And so we're obviously, if anybody's up there and wants to start something, we're game.
Let's go. And anyone who's listening, if you can't find Beat the Street Chicago for some reason, shoot me a message on Instagram. We'll get you connected. And yeah, it's all good. Coach Powell, it's an honor to have you as always. Thank you so much for making the time for us.
Ryan, thank you. We love what you're doing. We appreciate your investment in the wrestling community, and obviously in Beat the Streets. So
absolutely, man. Thank you so much, Coach.
All right. Take care.